afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Wildcard Weekend. This is the NFC West show, and unusually, considering the way the NFC West panned out this year, two of the teams are kind of interested in the Wildcard Weekend. But we'll obviously dive into that with the changes and the change of schedule and the change of location for the Monday night game. And Sam's going to join us in a second. But what are you thinking of the news? I know it's not quite NFC West related, but obviously Mike Vrabel going back to New England. I think that's actually probably a pretty good, sweet deal for all concerned there, I think.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a really good deal. It's a good deal for everybody except for Gerard Mayo. I mean, poor Gerard. He man,
it was like a no-win situation there, I think.
It's a lose-lose situation. So I really felt for him. And, the minute, I mean, you could see kind of the way it was trending, where we were going. But still sucks for Gerard.
Sucks for him. But, I mean, it's almost like they deliberately gave Vrabel a free pass so that he's not the next guy in after Bill, right? It was like, we'll just put some interim guy in here who's literally got, as you say, a no-win situation. You got 1 year, you got a brand new QB, you got basically nothing around you, and then a year later we're going to say, yeah, thanks very much, see you. We'll get the other guy in that we actually really wanted, but now he doesn't have the follow Bill Belichick pressure, I guess.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have that pressure, and he definitely has the pedigree, and I think the stars just aligned right for them to hire Vrabel this year. I honestly think they would have did it last year if it was all lined up correctly. But
just right,
they did it, and again, just feel for Gerard, but I still think we'll see if it was the right move. But Vrabel's got a good track record.
Yeah, he has. He's got some history, and I think what he brings with him is that ability to kind of build a culture, right? Which historically and recently, that's what the Patriots have been out for, having that Patriots way and stuff. So I think he'll definitely buy into that, bring that sort of back to the fore again.
Yeah, I agree.
So previous two games yesterday, I don't think any great surprise that the Ravens were too strong for the Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers' offense hasn't exactly fired too much, and with Lamar and with Derrick Henry, that was no great surprise to me that they kind of rolled them. I was quite surprised at the Texans' result, though. I thought the Chargers would put up a bit more of a fight with that one.
Outside of their first drive, when they really featured J.K. Dobbins, I was like, wow, this and I picked the Chargers to beat the Texans. I thought it was going to be a close game, but when they start out and they were featuring J.K. and really dishing the ball around, but running the ball, and then Lau would get it and Disley would get it here and there, but it was really featured by J.K. Dobbins that first drive. Then they completely went away from that, kind of like the Texans in that first quarter, how they went away from Mixon, which I could not understand for the life of me. Number one, the Chargers aren't that good at run D. Their defense is not.
They haven't been all season. Okay? Yeah, they haven't been that
number
great.
one. But they were treating them like they were the 85 Bears, and that nobody ever runs on the Chargers. And I just could not Here you have this dynamic offensive weapon in Joe Mixon who can run the ball and catch the ball, and they're not using him at all. And I didn't feel like it was. Even though it was the Chargers taking Joe Mixon out, it was really, I feel like the Texans taking Mixon out. And they were trying to use other weapons. And then it was like, okay, forget it. And then went back to Joe, and then the rest was history. But outside of that first drive, man, the Chargers just went away from J.K. Dobbins. It's like, I don't know what you're doing. It's 6-7. What are you doing?
Yeah, it was an odd decision, as you say, but in keeping with Chargers going to Charger and whatever else, it was almost like that. They got to the playoffs and then just did the bright lights of the playoff get too much for the. You think with Harbaugh though, right? He's going to be solid and coachable and dependable. Where's he did he panic? I mean,
I don't know. Calling the plays. I mean, that wasn't a Harbaugh type script. A Harbaugh type script is very heavily run the ball.
It would have been feed JK until they got sick of it, right? And then
until his legs fall off. And for some reason, again, outside of that first drive, and and a little bit in that second, they went away. I don't remember the announcers calling his name until like the third or fourth quarter. It was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of seem to think put it in Herbert's hands, and he'll carry us. And unfortunately, with their O line and Herbert's, I don't think he was. I don't think the interceptions and the bad play was specifically on Herbert, but their O line didn't exactly step up either. So it was. I mean, I was just surprised with that one. I thought that was going to be one of those 21-24 games, not such a blowout for the Texans.
Yeah, that was very surprising too. That D line of Houston. I mean, again, that defense is good. It's not that good, but again, when it comes to the playoffs, you
it's got to show up, right?
Things up a bit. Yep. And then they definitely blitzed as a scheme. I mean, that D line. I feel like there wasn't individuals. I feel like it was the entire unit, the D line unit that rushed him. So it was definitely a team effort, and he had a hard time staying on his feet. Getting sacked. I mean, back-to-back plays at sometimes in the game. It was really rough. But I have a lot of confidence in Herbert. I really like Herbert. He reminds me a lot of Stafford, actually, and the fact that he throws a great deep ball. He's got a cannon of an arm. His poor mom. Can you imagine giving birth to that? And then I feel like he makes good decisions. The poor guy. He threw 3 interceptions all year.
Oh, it was all yesterday.
And then yesterday threw 21 interceptions. So
felt like every time he was throwing it was like, it's gone to the wrong guy. It's gone to the guy and the other.
Like I went to the bathroom and it's like interception. I'm like, what? I went to the bathroom. Like
another one. Yeah. But yeah, I think I suppose from a Chargers perspective, you got to look at it. Harbaugh's first year is certainly, you've got that Harbaugh bounce. He's got him to the playoffs first year. So moving the coaching and doing that sort of decision's got to be a success, right?
And that's pretty amazing. I mean, if you look at, and they put this up on the telecast yesterday, the Harbaugh's first year with the Niners, he was second in the league with points against. And his first year coaching the Chargers, he was first in the league points against. So he knows how to coach D. I think they give up like 17 or 18 points a game this year, which we scored 19 in the first half against them and beat them, but whatever. I think they're going in the right direction. There was a stat though yesterday that was like rookie or quarterbacks who are facing the playoffs for the first time are 11-21 against teams who have quarterbacks who have already been
played at least once. Wow.
So it was very interesting. I almost switched my pick when I heard that stat, but I'm like, no.
Come on, Herbert's been around long enough but wow, that is like some stat, isn't it? 11-21.
Yeah. So, and it made sense. I mean, especially when as the game played out, you started to see, this is a different level, and this is the playoffs. So that's why teams like the Rams or teams like, I think they're going to do well because Matthew Stafford's been there, done that. He's the leader. He's leading this team. Still think you guys are going to lose to the Vikings tomorrow, but I mean, look out, because is there a more pedigree? Is there a better tenured quarterback than Stafford in the playoffs right now? I mean, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs. There's no situation. There's no defense that they're going to show him. I love that Vikings defense. But he's not going to see anything that he hasn't seen before.
Yeah, it shouldn't phase him like it's phased some other QBs this year. I mean, to be honest, I think the Vikings defense, it completely phased Brock when he played him week 2, whatever it was, when we played the Vikings. I think their defense just messed with his head because he's never seen the way they moved around and everything else. But you're right, Stafford's seen it all, been there, got the bumps and the bruises, and as you say, got the ring to prove it. So he's got the experience, so he shouldn't be fazed by that. But yeah, how are you feeling, Sam?
It's just one of those things. I think for this game I'm going in with no expectation of going and winning this game. But if we do manage to win this game, then I think it's just one of those where I probably expect one and done. But I think a lot of people will underestimate us, and that's where I think we can be quite dangerous. Is if people continue to underestimate, the likes of Stafford, and that we've seen it for years where people have underestimated him. And now he's, he can still put up points. He can still get the drives done. My only concern is once we get down to the red zone, we've been quite poor, and that's my concern. Is if we start getting there in this game and McVay doesn't start getting a bit, he doesn't start getting a bit clever with it, we could end up just being stuck in this position of just not scoring points.
But I suppose you look at it right, and I think we talked about it a few weeks back. Anyone who gets out of the NFC West is probably going into the playoffs with a to manage somehow to get through that. We don't no expectations of pretty much a deep run, because I don't think any team out of the West was looking playoff sort of strong. But now you're in there, as you've got players who have gone through that before. The Vikings has not got that many, so that sort of playoff pedigree, that playoff experience, or should come to the fore. And playoffs are playoffs, right? One game. McVay's got to kind of be a bit more expressive, risky. I mean, as you say, if you get to the red zone and he plays it safe and you're taking field goals against that Vikings offense, it's probably not going to be enough. So you're going to have to be a little bit more, out there taking some risk, because it's playoffs. You go home if you don't. Say you go home. LA doesn't look a great place to be going right now, which is why Jason's got a vested. Did you manage to get ticket, Jay?
You know what? I opted on not buying tickets, and I'll tell you why. It really came down to I hate the Rams, and so I'd be cheering for the Vikings, and it's like I don't want to be in my stadium that I've had season tickets in for 21 years cheering for another team. It just felt icky. It felt like cheating on your wife. It just didn't feel right. I couldn't pull the ticket. I found two great. I gotta talk quietly because my son will kill me. I just told him I couldn't find tickets. I found $88 a seat. Great view. I know. But I told him, I'm like, hey, listen, we'll go order pizza. We'll do it up, and we'll have a great time here at the house. But I opted on not doing it.
I can see that though. As you say, it's playoff football in your home stadium, but it's not your team. So I
was super excited when it got called here. We were out to dinner when it came across my phone. And I showed my son. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I got on, and when the Cardinals could get on the next morning at it was 1 or 11 a.m. our time that we could get on and buy tickets, and I just could not hit that button to buy. It just felt so dirty.
It's also going to be fully kitted out in LA stuff, so it's not even going to look like the proper State Farm, is it?
Well, no, you're right, absolutely. But I also feel bad for the Rams, because this is going to be a home game for the Vikings. There's going to be more Vikings fans in that stadium than there are Rams fans, and that's not fair.
But
no, we used to.
I was going to say you kind of used to that anyway, right?
That's true.
It's like most of the home games in SoFi are.
Still, you think it's going to be 60-40 Rams in SoFi? I mean, you're going to be lucky if it's 60-40 Vikings fans in our stadium. Yeah. I mean, snowbirds from Minnesota, they love to live here in the winter. So we don't see a lot of people from LA.
Coming up for the summer. Yeah, exactly. So they're flying south. A lot of those Vikings will be on.
But I think you know what, Sam. I honestly think you guys. This is a coin flip game. I think you have a great chance. A couple things you have going your way. One, you have Matt Stafford on your side. When you have Matt Stafford on your side, I mean, anything can happen. That game against us a couple of weeks ago, he had 2 throws. First of all, I think we beat you. There's 2 games this year that you watched and visually you watched and you're like, we won the game, but they're saying we've lost. And that was the Vikings game that we were ahead for the entire game up until the last seconds when they kicked that field goal. And then the Rams game, it's like aesthetically, we're just watching the game. I'm like, we're beating you guys in every single aspect of the game, but you won the game. Like, I'm like, how does that work? I don't get it. But Matthew Stafford had 2 throws, and I'm like, I just rewound and watched it probably 10 times. His first throw was the Cooper Kupp. They're really in a similar situation. We were playing zone defense, and these guys ran maybe a 10, 15 yard out. It was on the sidelines, and Matthew Stafford just places it perfectly. He has to put a little bit of touch in the ball up and in, right in that zone to Cooper Kupp. I think it was in the first half. It was for I think your first touchdown, and then a couple plays later, same really throw, but just better to Cooper Nakua or to Puka Nakua, and it was just like, it just reminds you this guy is so special. There's not a throw he can't make.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, is he going to be on his game tomorrow? And I would put money on that he's going to be on his game more than Sam Darnold's going to be on his game, because has Sam been here before? Number one. Number two, last time the Vikings played, it was horrible.
It was horrible against the Lions.
Awful.
Yeah.
It was
one of the good things as well is that one of our biggest strengths, although our secondary on defense has been, I would say, subpar. Granted, it is very young, but our O-line our D-line has been phenomenal this year. I think, Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk.
And I hate the fact they're so young. They're going to be there forever. We're going to have to deal with them forever. Oh, I know.
I hate the fact that they're both Seminoles and they went to the Rams. It just gets me every single time.
They are so good.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we've got, Jared Verse is essentially, most likely going to be Defensive Rookie of the Year, as I think he's put up, was it 77 pressures on QBs this year, which is the highest in the league. It's also the highest, I think, for a rookie ever in their rookie season. He's just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've got Braden Fisk, who's been brilliant this year.
Yep.
Kobe Turner's been brilliant this year. There's so many young pieces on that defense. It's just, my worry is, if we can pressure Sam Darnold, we might see the Sam Darnold that played against the Lions. If we don't, then we might see the Sam Darnold that we know can play, because we will give up yardage.
Yeah. Yeah, because you do give up yardage. Your defense does bend, doesn't it? It's a kind of, teams can get yards on it, but if you can get to Sam Darnold, then you might get the Jets/Lions game Darnold, where it's a bit deer in the headlights. And as you say, Jay, playoff game, Darnold's not been there. Stafford will be a bit more. It's a 60-minute game. It doesn't have to be won in the first or second quarter, And that's what I think where Herbert kind of got away in like yesterday was like, once the Texans got a couple of scores, it was almost like it's a playoff. They're getting away, kind of had to panic. And, maybe if the Rams go 2 scores up, will that sort of pressure start to build on Darnold, and will he be reaching and pushing too hard for throws that he shouldn't be making? That's probably where you need to be hoping for, Simon, to get your offense a couple of scores up if you can, and throw the pressure back onto the guys in purple. How do we think about Sunday's games anyway? Before we, because obviously we're looking ahead to Mondays, but what about the other playoff games this weekend? Because we've got some crackers today.
We got some great games today. I don't necessarily think the Broncos have a snowball's chance in hell of beating the Bills, but I still think it's going to be a good offensive game, right? I do got some money out on Cortland Sutton. He's got to catch at least 5 balls. So I do got some money.
I don't think there's a problem with that. I think they're going to be looking to get the ball to him, right? That's kind of been the way they've worked so far this season. So
and then we got that Packers-Eagles game. I really, that should be a fairly easy W for the Eagles.
Hurts is playing as well, right? I think.
Yeah, Packers have not been playing that well. Really all season.
They lost. Was it Watson went down last week, didn't he, with an ACL?
Yeah.
Is Jordan Love okay with his hand? Because
he is.
He is, but I see that.
I'm really excited to see that Commanders-Buccaneers game tonight. That game's going to be epic.
Yeah. That's the one that you talk about a coin flip for the Vikings-Rams game, but that Buccaneers-Commanders game could be dreadful, but it could also be absolutely outstanding and just, an explosion of scores and whatever else, right? Nobody kind of knows, nobody can call what that game's going to be like.
Obviously, I've got a soft spot for the NFC, so I can see an opportunity for the Rams to kind of make some noise here in the playoffs. But really, the Redskins also, right? If the Redskins can somehow win today, right? Which, I mean, you have two powerful forces against each other, right? You got this powerful offense against this powerful defense, and then Baker Mayfield doesn't make any mistakes at all. But then Jane Daniels, man, he's just been so dynamic, right? Offensive Rookie of the Year. So those two forces. But if the Redskins can get over this game today, then they'll face the Eagles next week, which they're in their division. They've already beaten them once this year. So I can see a world where the Redskins are playing the Lions in the NFC Championship game. And that's crazy. Once you get there, once you get there, Gary knows. Once you get there, anyone can win. Last year, Detroit was beating the pants off you in the first half. And then
the lucky bounce off the Ladybird catch.
Off the helmet. What was it, Jameson? Oh my gosh.
Crazy catch that just turned the game. But yeah, I think you're right. If the Commanders, if anybody was to say to any of those Commanders fans last season, by the way, you'll be in the playoffs next season with a rookie and everything else, man, anyone in that stadium would just snap your hand off, right? And I can't give the Commanders sort of organization more kudos. I think I said they won the draft when they drafted really well and they did really well and they got the new GM in and stuff like that. And it's like, watch out for the Commanders in a couple of seasons. They're going to be really good. I did not expect it to be this season. I did not expect them to be where they are. So, I mean, they're massively ahead of the curve. But you're right. This is one of those games. If they get ahead of steam in the playoffs, they've got nothing to lose. They're going out there. That's maybe at the flip side of the Commanders is they're in there going, hey, we're well ahead of the curve. This is house money we're playing with. Let's just let it roll, rather than maybe tightening up that some other more experienced players, more experienced teams might slightly tighten up in the playoffs because it's playoff football, and I mean that would be interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, when they started hiring away San Fran front office guys, and then when they hired Cliff, I got a buddy that is a Redskin fan, and I texted him. I said, "You guys, you wait. Like, this team is going to be something to fear." Just did not expect it this soon, but 100% trust. I mean, I've seen what the San Fran front office has done draft wise and what they do with their personnel, and I know what Cliff can do from a play calling side of the. So now over there in Washington, they're just asking him to call plays. That's it. They're not asking him to be the head coach. So this is really a situation that he can thrive in. Why would you want to leave if you're Cliff? You're getting paid by the Cardinals still.
Yeah, the Cardinals are paying
still
him.
Going to be paying him next year to be the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and he's getting paid by the Redskins to be their offense coordinator. Why would you want to go anywhere?
Yeah, why would you want to go somewhere else and kind of get the pressure back again?
I got Jaden Daniels. Like, I got this. Imagine when I can put some more pieces together in the offseason. Holy.
Yeah. Another off season with this guy with some of those.
It's not even a big offense, really. There's not even a lot of big names on the offense side of the ball. I mean, Scary Terry is about it, right? I mean, Austin Eckler.
The running core is just obviously it's Brian Robinson, who I think has failed to deceive a lot. He's had patches of really good times, but he's just not consistent enough. And then Eckler, I think, he's at the end of his career now, realistically.
Yeah.
And then I think their wide receivers, obviously, apart from Scary Terry, is Olamide Zacchaeus, I think, is their second, and maybe
he was an ex-Eagles, wasn't he? Dotson and
Diami Brown. No, Dotson's not there anymore, is he? He's gone he went to the Eagles.
Oh, they swapped over, didn't they?
Well, Zach Ertz is over there. I love, Cardinal fans love Zach Ertz. Zacchaeus, yes, you're right. I forgot Noah Brown's over there as well. So, I mean, again, you got these hodgepodge of guys that, Noah Brown striking fear in the heart of nobody in the NFL. Dammy Brown. Oh, let's not forget McCaffrey's over there.
Luke's over there.
McCaffrey, right? His brother. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, the weapons, they don't really have many weapons, and yet they're on the offense side of the ball, and they're still doing this. So, I think the Redskins
they've put up points this season as well, haven't they? They have actually.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Considering it's like you look at
they keep leaning on obviously Daniels for a lot of this. I mean, he's been great with his feet and in the air, and obviously using McLaurin a lot. But it wouldn't surprise me in terms of, I think that could be a really interesting game in terms of who's going to be coming out on top, because I really like both. In terms of the game as a matchup, I like the Buccaneers and the Commanders as a matchup. I think both teams have the ability to go and win this game. I just think that it'll just come down. I think it'll come down to either Baker will use his experience, or the rawness of Daniels will be the difference. I think it's going one way or the other.
Yeah, to me, it's Cliff versus Todd Bowles versus Cliff Kingsbury. Can Cliff's offense, do something against this Todd Bowles defense? Todd Bowles, we love him here in Arizona. He was our D coordinator. Can he coach defense, man? So we'll see. And they got some dogs on that side of the ball.
I think Shaq Barrett's back, isn't he, for this game?
Yep.
So that's a big piece to get back.
Yeah. So
it's
going to be a great game. I can't wait.
It's the two teams
that football.
It is. It's just this Wildcard Weekend is always one of those great weekends, isn't it? And football kind of comes thick and fast. It's non-stop, and usually it's interesting matchups, because the wild cards always throw up those sort of teams that you wouldn't expect to be there, or teams that scrapped in and stuff like that. So it's got a great all of these games look good, but as you say, you hope Denver can kind of just keep their head above water a little bit and make it a little bit more interesting, and not kind of be over by half time, which absolutely has the potential. But also the Chiefs haven't been that fantastic anyway, so it's not been a massive plus point.
The Chiefs just know how to win games. That's all it is. You don't have to play pretty football sometimes. You just have to be able to win the game. And that's what the Chiefs know how to do.
Yeah. My son keeps talking about, the Ravens and the Bills and, these other teams in the AFC Championship game. And I'm like, you just can't discount the Chiefs. I mean, you talk about the best coach in the NFL, it's got to be Andy Reid. And talk about the best or one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, it's Patrick Mahomes. I don't care what his QBR is. I don't care what his completion rate is. I don't care about anything. You just watch the guy play, the optics, just watch your eyes, and your eyes watch him play, and you're like, man, that guy's good, right? You have those two things on the same team, anything can happen, right? And he's got this camaraderie, I feel like, with every single guy on the offense, Patrick does, and, it's really, really something to watch. So I think it's going to come down between, Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo for that AFC, and I think everybody else is on the outside looking in.
Texans, if the Texans get through the next week, then I think that'll be a surprise. The fact they got past the Chargers as comfortably as they did, but I don't see them getting past whoever they face up next week. I can't work out who it's going to be. It's probably going to be, the Texans will be the lowest ranked seed, wouldn't they?
So they'll face the Chiefs, right?
They'll face the Chiefs, right? Just trying to patch it all together now. Just thinking about it. So if Denver win, they'll go up against. It's whoever's basically going to be the last seed. So at the moment it stands, it'll be Denver if they win. But if the Bills win, then it'll be the Texans. Yeah, Bills, Ravens, Texans, Chiefs.
Yeah.
Which
either way, I don't think either one of those teams stand a chance. So
we got somebody's got to go in Arrowhead and knock them off, but I don't see any of those teams looking like that. But this weekend, so for today, stonking games. Kind of favouring the Commanders in that Buccaneers game.
Yeah, I am too. I'm picking the Redskins, but again, it's such a coin toss.
I think that's just, as you say, that's probably my sort of. They've got a lot of ex-Niners in the front office.
Yeah,
that's where I'm leaning it. Daniels looks good, but then Baker is Baker, right? And he could literally put that team on his shoulders, drag them kicking and screaming. So,
and what a season he's had, right? I mean,
redemption season. I suppose last season was probably a redemption season, but then to go back to back NFC South champions, he's proven. I suppose it's been the year, right, of redemption QB, Sam Darnold, Baker, kind of guys going, hey, look, we can actually play football as long as we get away from New York. and we get away from
But let's
bad
just talk for a
organization.
second about how low Baker got. I mean, Baker was playing the scout D end for the Carolina Panthers. He was playing the scout defensive end on the Panthers when he was on the Panthers.
Yeah.
There's pictures of
Did
him
you had it,
playing on
didn't
the
you?
scout
You had
team.
Baker for a couple of weeks, didn't you, Sam?
Sam did, and that's actually the first time that I saw. Wasn't really impressed with him in Cleveland. Didn't really get a look at him, a long look at him in any other place. But then when he goes to the Rams, he was there for a cup of coffee, and I remember, was it one or two games that he played, Sam? But I remember that one game.
One game he
I
literally
was
took
super
on.
impressed. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
It was 2 or 3 games he played for us. I think the thing was we were in a position where he was just. I think McVay was playing with the offense of how to try and scheme things, and we just got to see a really fun side of Baker. And I think that's sort of just how it
That's
ended.
It was that one game where he just threw it everywhere.
Like,
didn't he?
man,
It's like,
this guy, wow. So, and then
I remember that game, and it was just Baker doing crazy Baker things. Massive throws down the sideline, just diving headfirst into tackles, and
didn't they sign him? And then he played 17 hours later or something.
Flew him in and literally just here start.
That's
like,
I don't think they even gave him the playbook or something, did they?
It was like the Christian McCaffrey thing, wasn't it? Where he came in and literally was just straight on the field with barely any time of looking at the playbook.
Yeah, running back. Running back, here's the ball, run that way. Quarterback, you got to know it. Your position and everybody else's position on the field. So, really, really impressed with Baker and what he's done. But yeah, I'm going to be cheering for the Redskins today for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a soft spot for a lot of fans who'll be probably leaning towards the Commanders because they've been through some hideous stuff in Washington with their owner and stuff like that. So it's certainly got some rosier sort of viewpoints on coming out of Washington. I think the Eagles are probably going to be too strong for the Packers, as we say, and then. I think I agree with you, Jay. I think with Stafford being there, I think that's going to be enough as over the Vikings. I just think Sam Darnold might just get a bit, oh my God, I'm in the playoffs.
And Kevin they really know how to scheme guys open, right? I remember when we played them, it's in the fourth quarter, and they had to have that drive. They were down. It was the game-winning drive for Minnesota, and they schemed Justin Jefferson, the greatest receiver in the NFL. They schemed him open. There wasn't a Cardinal in your picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and it wasn't a blown coverage. I'm like, how do you scheme a guy that? So they're just so good at scheming guys open over there. And Brian Flores in that defense is just so good. Outside of Sam Darnold having another game like he did last week, and it's like what Sam alluded to. It's your problem is in that red zone. Field goals are not going to win this game. Touchdowns, you need to get touchdowns to win this game.
Yeah.
And so when you get in that red zone, you really got to capitalize. And you guys, that offense is what concerns me. That offense, it seems like it's real hit or miss. That defense, man, you don't got to worry about that defense, man. That defense travels everywhere. But that offense, I feel like sometimes it's like, okay, there we go. And then sometimes it really sputters, and it's got to be frustrating. It's kind of like watching our offense.
It's got to be watching our offense all season. Where it's just like, it's got all the pieces. Why have you not? You just shot yourself in the foot again. Oh, here we go again. Yeah. So how are you feeling, Sam? So you're thinking as long as Nakua and Stafford and Cup kind of hit it off, you think that'll be enough to get you through?
Sorry, you might be able to hear my child in the background.
It's all right. We love hearing that.
We love it. We love it. We love it, Mini Sam.
1 minute.
My concern, would be, and again, I alluded to this earlier in the year on this pod, is where each team is going moving forward. And you look at the Rams and Stafford. You're older. What's he going to be? 62 next year.
75, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right, he's taking his state
there.
pension, isn't he? Yeah.
And it's like, what direction are we going? Is Kyrie really that guy? Like, wow, he kind of showed it this year that he can
Yeah.
be.
As long as you feed
Can
him, then he could be,
can he
right?
be
Yeah.
consistently? And so there's just so many things. And like you said in the beginning, I kind of feel like, and maybe this is just sour grapes from a Cardinal fans, but I kind of feel like the Rams backed in a little bit, which there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. Just get in. Who cares how you get in, right? But I don't feel like it
Absolutely.
was because the Rams were playing outstanding football that they got in.
No.
So I really question where they're going moving forward. I question where Seattle's going moving forward. I wish Bo was on today because
Yeah,
there
it
was
would have been
there's
good to
talk
get that whole Geno stuff, right?
well, there's
Because
I'm like I don't get it. So like I want to know from an insider like why are you guys talking about moving Geno Smith? That's crazy.
for
Um,
for the last couple of seasons, he's like dragged that team. You know, he's been a good QB. He's consistently done exactly what's been asked for him. So why would you be looking to move on from him? Who else have they got? What else have they got there without
exactly.
Geno? Right?
What's your contingency plan? That's what I want to know. And
Because even
then with
you
the
look at the draft,
49ers,
oh yeah,
the 49ers have financial difficulties that they're going to be facing this year. And
yeah,
you know, the talk in the last couple of weeks, months is it's the demise of the 49ers and the starting from the Super Bowl and this season has been Dre Greenlaw. When
yeah.
Dre Greenlaw's on the field, and Sam loves Dre Greenlaw, when
Oh, he's
Greenlaw's on the
Sam's
field,
favorite player. Yeah,
yeah, he has his jersey on right now.
yeah.
When he's on the field, you guys are insanely good. When Dre's not, well, the numbers were what the numbers were this year. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, here we thought it was these other people, maybe this, maybe that. Dre Greenlaw, and you got
Dre
players coming
was
on,
it.
everybody saying no, he's really the leader of the defense. He's that dog on our
Yeah,
defense.
he's the dog. Warner's the guy who gets all the.
He's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
now it looks, from all intents and purposes, it looks like he's moving on because
yeah, which I
we're not
would
gonna be able to pay him.
love. Yes, that would be awesome. I mean, if you're saying he's the key and he's going to move on, the key's moving on, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
it's like it is bizarre to hear that and to read that because, as you say, everything's been about our defense isn't firing, our defense hasn't got the heart and the soul, or whatever else. And we need a
I
new
thought Fred Warner was the heart and soul of your defense, but
it seems like Fred only beats when he's got Dre to bounce off of or whatever.
yeah.
I mean, Fred's still been absolutely outstanding this season, but
Except
the
when
rest
Trey
of the
McBride's
defense,
wearing him as a backpack. And
absolutely,
him like
there have been
Explorer
games where he's just been
backpack.
carried, but
Yeah.
it's quite odd. And then to just hear and read and see that maybe Dre is moving on because he's hitting free agency, and if somebody's going to pay him big money. But
Hopefully not the Rams. Hopefully not the Rams.
I don't imagine. I don't think he'll stay in the West. To be honest, I think he might be going to the Chargers. I think he'll stay in California, but I don't think he's going to stay in the NFC.
I can see him staying in the West. I would love to bring him on over here. Just saying. But Sam, where do you see the Rams moving on beyond today, but next season and the following season? What direction are we going in?
To be honest, I'm honestly unsure because if Stafford is going to be coming to the end, like we're in his final season, maybe he's got another year in him. I worry
maybe another year. There's been no drop off at all. But it's like, man, you can't stay that good forever.
If we've got another year out of him, if we can get another year out of him,
yeah.
All I see that we'll do is build on that defense because we do need to work on the secondary. I think our linebackers are probably our weakest spot, bar Byron Young. I don't really. I mean, to be fair, Spates hasn't been bad, but he's not a starter. Rose Boom is terrible, and so is the other guy that we have. That Troy Reader, I think it is the other guy. But I just think if we can get a few pieces on defense that we can sort of support in the secondary and sort of, because at the end, Sheila's always going to have us doing the bend don't break form of defense. But I think if we can get a couple of top pieces in the secondary, probably get a few solid, maybe one or two additional pieces on the offensive line. We do need to replace what's likely going to be Havenstein's last season. So it's taught that he'll either move on or retire. So I think we just need to. It's filling the gaps and then going
What about
again.
your depth after Kyrie Williams? What about your depth at running back? 'Cause I have no idea who runs the rock after Kyrie.
Corum's been good. It's a shame he's now off injured, so he's on IR. But he's done well. He's come in and held his own. My concern has always been is that we don't have that like battering ram style running back. They're more, I suppose, lightweight, more sort of on the edge running back. The sort that they'll try and get to the flanks. I think if maybe you might want to look at an additional running back, someone who's a bit more physical. But it honestly just depends what happens because at the end of the day, Cup's now become a wide receiver too. I wouldn't be surprised if we move him on at the end of this year just to make a bit of capital. We've got, there's other players that potentially are out there that we could get. I don't like it, but that's the rumours that are going around about Cup. I would like him to stay another year. I think he's still has some of the best hands in the game, and I think he would still, when you've got, Puka and as being the other guy there who's the main guy, and then it's always nice to have someone like a Cup on the team. But
Batman and Robin, yeah, for sure, definitely.
There is obviously talk. I know that supposedly Keenan Allen has come out and said that he would like to join the Rams or return to the Chargers. So again, maybe we look at something like that as an additional, but I think it's just filling the pieces and going again and seeing, I think the NFC West is in a position where it doesn't look like there's no team that's coming out of this going into this next season who could potentially blow away the division. I think there's definitely with the Seahawks, obviously with what happening with Geno, the Niners have to sort out what's going on there. Obviously, they've still got the injuries that they need to sort out. I think, is this going to be the year you have to pay Brock, or have you got another year left before you have to pay him?
We don't have to pay him this year, but if we don't, he's on
the contract's only getting more expensive, and I can see Brock coming to the 49ers and being like, "Hey, listen, I don't need to be the highest paid. Just pay me in this realm,
that area of
and let's put the rest back in the team." I can see Brock doing that, and that would be very smart of Brock.
I mean, one thing we've noticed with this year as well is that I think Trent Williams has probably missed more games this season than he ever really has, which. Yeah. Again, there's the potential that he could look to retire, and
But again,
he's had a tough year, right? I mean,
you see that with teams who are out of it, all of a sudden those nagging injuries are games you miss. Instead of if you're in it, you're not missing, right? You're getting injected and you're playing that game. So the Niners have been in it at all this year.
I think it's just been a lot of that. There's no real team. I think. There's no team in this division at the moment that is going to take that is 100% going to win this division. I think any of them could win it. Yeah. And I think that, if you're the Rams and you're looking at that now, you're thinking, let's go again. Let's go and win this division again. Run it back because
next year.
It's there to do. And I think we can do it. And then I think we need to start thinking, okay, if we get Stafford for another year, it's likely that's it. He's done. I don't see beyond next year Stafford being around or being in the NFL.
I just think he might, depending on how far he gets this year and next year, I think he might not just want to put his body through that.
Yeah, it is. Although he is, although he's protected, and he hasn't had, thankfully, too many. He's not had any real issues this season with being sacked and stuff. If what happens when we went on was it 5-12, where he basically got put on his ass every single other game and ended up going out, and we were talking, in that the end of that season, that he may never return to the NFL because of a back injury or a spinal injury,
neck injury or something. Yeah, so
it's if because that hasn't happened this year, and he's basically had a full season being fit-ish, then. there's no reason why he can't come back for one more year. And I think it'll also depend on if McVay stays again. I mean, I know there's the talk that he obviously could decide this is the final year, and he wants to then go into being in the box and that. So,
and so that's not gone away. That rumor has it? And
no, it never will, because he's had so many interviews where he just has the knowledge and the persona and the voice that it would succeed on television. And it's for him, he's even come out and said, I'm not going to be coaching forever. So it's just when he's going to, again, is he going to do it where he thinks, let's run it back, we've got one more year and let's try and win it again and then leave the team then? Or does he
take this as a success year, kind of like, hey, look, we made the playoffs against all odds, bounce back from that horrendous year.
This season was always that season where, this season or last season were these seasons where we were basically saying this is a reshape, not a rebuild. So has he done the reshape enough to be able to step away and say, I'm happy? It's just to have to find out.
It's not Sean McVay. I don't see Sean doing that. I feel like he's a coach at heart. He's young. He knows way too much. And you guys are, like you said, you're really starting to get it together, especially on the defense side of the ball. He knows offense. You get some offensive pieces, and who's knows. Nobody's running away with it in this division. But exactly what all the things you said, that's exactly why I love the situation the Arizona Cardinals are in, because the Rams are kind of in a delicate situation where, okay, what's McVay going to do? And can Stafford stay healthy? And Cooper's going to be a year older. What are we going to do in that situation? You look at the 49ers with their financial situation. What's the issue? We're still 18 weeks later, and we're still guessing on what the 49ers issue is, right?
Yeah.
And then you have
season's over, and we still don't know what was wrong with it. Yeah.
You have the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are who the Seahawks are. I never, really believed in them all putting it all together, but you can't quite put a finger on what direction they're going in. I can put a finger on the direction the Arizona Cardinals are going in. We're young. No one had more starters on the defense side of the ball that were first year, second year, or third year players. Next year, they're going to be second year, third year, and fourth year players. And now we're going to have $100 million in the cap space. You're going to see Monty, our GM, spend like crazy. And he's going to get like a Max Crosby. Myles Garrett would be great. Type guy, right? Sprinkle a couple of those guys on defense. We already have the second best secondary in football. What makes your secondary better? Bolstering up that front end, right? So if we can bolster up that front seven, that's going to help that back four. Everybody's young. We have all the cap space in the world. Monty knows how to pick. We don't have a quarterback controversy. Marvin Harrison's young. Trey McBride is an absolute beast stud. James Conner, love him. And then behind him, you got Trey Benson, Amari Mercado. We call Michael Carter off the practice squad, who we got from the Jets. I think it was a third or fourth round pick a couple years ago. He plays phenomenal. I love Michael Carter. So I really like where we're going. Last 7 games of the season, our offensive line ranked 7th in the league and run pass rate, blocking rate. So I really like the direction we're going. We're very young. Just add some pieces here and there and keep going. Won 4 games last year, won 8 games this year. What are we going to do next year? Okay. I know I said this earlier in the season, but Dan Campbell over there with Detroit, his first season in Detroit, he won 5 games. His second season with Detroit, he won 3 games. As a matter of fact, they started the season losing their first 8 games. Can you imagine the radio and talk shows and everybody over there in Detroit when this new guy, Dan Campbell, comes in, wins 5 games, and then starts the next season and loses his first 8 games?
Yeah. So what he did, get rid of this guy. Now look at them.
Now they're the best team in football or the NFC, right? Yeah. Be patient. Understand what you're looking at. What I'm looking at is an improved product from last year. I've watched this team forever, and I'm not the smartest X and O's guy. I can't, gauge, this and that as far as, talent and what, these other guys can.
PFF rankings and
But
whatever
what I
else.
can is I can look and watch the game and tell you that's a much improved product over last year. And next year, I feel like we're going to be in that 10, 12 win area. And I feel like we are going to be fighting, especially in those victories like this year against the Vikings. They're going to be W's for us. Against the Rams, they're going to be W's for us. And so,
I think the fact he did get some of those tight wins this season, against the Niners and stuff. I think the fact you won some of those niggly games as well will stand you in good stead as you go forward. And I think you're right. Looking around the NFC West, the Cardinals seem to be kind of 2 steps or maybe a year or 2 into that process. Whereas, as you say, Sam, the Rams are kind of reshaping, but are they reshaped yet, or are they still in the Niners are in a bit of disarray? Does Debo get traded? Does Trent Williams come back after the emotional distress and everything else that's happened to his, family this year and the injuries? Charvarius Ward has already kind of indicated he doesn't want to be in California anymore because he comes to California and he's remembering all the bad things. So sounds like he's going. Yeah. There's a number of those things underlying, and Brock and the money and the cap and everything else. And it sounds like we might have plenty of cap space next year, but most of that's going to go to Brock. What happens? We don't know, as you say, Joe. We just don't seem to know where you are and what the process is and what the strategy is. Whereas at least with the Cardinals,
is it a foregone conclusion that Christian McCaffrey plays for the 49ers next year? I mean, is it a possibility that you start flipping pieces? Is it a possibility you start flipping pieces and looking towards the future?
I think there's a real possibility that Debo goes next in this offseason because we can get something for him.
Yeah, Debo, Drake Greenlaw.
It's starting to look, Ayuk's got to come back. And is he going to come back the same player? Because that was a horrific injury. Is he going to be the same wide receiver when he comes back? There's a lot of question marks, and that's concerning.
Jennings really stepped up this year. You got that. Oh man, who's that wide receiver number 17?
Ricky Pearsall's been good.
Wow,
14,
he's been impressive.
Okay. Yeah,
he reminds me of that Kittle type too, man. He's just excitable, loves the game.
Yeah, he's got that sort of Kittle-esque, wants to play. Let me pancake people. As you say, Jennings in the Cardinals game, only needed 17 yards or whatever it was to get his 1,000 yards
for him, because I'm like, what did he do?
What did he do?
Previous play, maybe, but
maybe
on the play that he got ejected, he was on his back.
And apparently, I think that the NFL have fined your guy for
Sean Murphy bunting.
Yeah, he's been fined by the NFL, so it's almost like
Sean Murphy threw a punch. Sean Murphy was the aggressor, threw him to the ground. Like, okay. Want to eject him? I didn't understand ejecting him, give him maybe a personal foul or whatever, seeing it was his first offense. But whatever, you ejected him. But you ejected Juwan Jennings, and he's 15 yards away from getting his first 1,000-yard season. That was brutal to me. I didn't agree with it at all. I was telling my wife, I'm like, what did he do? He didn't do anything.
He just
and my wife was screaming. She's like, yeah, but the play earlier. I'm like, well, that was the play earlier.
You can't carry it forward and go.
No, he did absolutely nothing. He was on his back in the end zone. So,
but I think going forward next season this season has been a dogfight in the NFC West. No team has kind of been that team, right? The Seahawks started out great. Sam, remember you guys was it 1-4 or something? We thought you were dead and buried. The Niners.
Middle of the season, one of us said we're like, watch out for the Rams, though.
Because they start to put their places, you got their pieces back, didn't they?
Anybody could take it. Since San Fran was off a little bit, it's like, okay, now it's anybody's game.
Yeah. Then it was it. And then, the Rams came through. And it's probably, I think next season is going to be another one of those arm wrestles, and we're going to take points and we're going to take games off of each other, and it's going to come right down to it. So looking forward to it. But, looking forward to the rest of the Wildcard Weekend. We'll catch up. Hopefully, Sam, we've got something to talk about with the Rams next week for the next game. So I'm fingers crossed.
Right.
I do think you've got enough to get past the Vikings. Quite frankly, I do think you've probably got enough.
I think it's for me. It's just which type of Vikings turn up.
Yeah. That is it. If the Vikings turn up and put your secondary, as you say, your young secondary under pressure, you might struggle a bit. But if you can get to Darnold and put some hands in his face or get him a bit flustered, then I think you should be okay.
And I will say this about Matthew Stafford, that he has not seen a defense. There's no defense that's going to surprise him that Brian Flores is going to draw up, right? But there are defenses that Brian Flores is going to draw up that's going to surprise Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
And they're not going to quite know what to do, or how to react. So it's going to be a fun game.
It'll be a fun one to watch. I just feel sorry for you, Sam, because it's a 1 a.m. start for you on Monday night, right? Tuesday morning, 1 a.m.
Yeah, I'll be watching it the next day, first thing in the morning. So my phone will be going on silent.
Absolutely, radio silent. Don't get on social media until you've got a chance to watch that. Yeah, Jay,
I'll make sure
Sam?
I am you, Skull.
Yes. You'll be sending him updates all the time. Jay, have a great weekend, man. Enjoy this out. Sam, good luck on Monday night. Lovely to speak to you guys. You guys take it easy, and we'll speak next week. You're free?
Yes,
you're around next week?
Please, let's do it. Yes.
Let's do it next week. Bo, you come and join us next week, and we're going to have a wrap up, and we'll see where we are with the divisional games. Until then, thanks for watching, guys. This has been the NFC West Show. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.